You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Haunted Histories with your host Penny G. Morgan, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all on this September evening? It's a very memorable date, and I would just like to say to anyone who've been sharing 9/11 things on social media who are worried that people have forgotten about it, I don't think people have forgotten about it. I think most people certainly remember what happened today, 18 years ago. I think it's going to be one of those things that, a bit like when people heard about JFK being shot, all those kind of things, you're going to be able to tell exactly what you were doing at that exact point in time. So much respect to all the first responders and everything else who dealt with that day 18 years ago, and let's hope we never see anything quite like that again. But on that serious note, what have you all been up to? Who's there? Who's talking to us? We're going to be live tonight for the next hour. I know I don't do that very often because a lot of my guests have time differences and all those types of shenanigans that we have to factor in, but tonight, I suppose you could say my guests have got a time difference because they're north of the UK, and they're probably going to be giggling in a minute in the background, and Lancashire does kind of have a different time zone to everywhere else, or so it feels. It's a different country, or is that Yorkshire likes to think it's a different country? I don't know. One of them, but they're up north. My guests are going to be coming on shortly, the wonderful Spooky Sisters. But before I introduce them, what's been going on? Well, hopefully you will have seen that I'm going to be heading down to Bodmin Jail next month. I'm going to be doing a bit of a paracony type evening there, and I'm going to be doing a talk. I'm not going to tell you what it's on just yet because it's a secret. But if you want to go, get in touch with the jail. They've got it advertised on the website, and you can come, and I think for 90 quid you get a 3-course meal, an investigation of the jail, and you get to hear 3 different people speak, of which I'm one. I think our Parasearch colleague and Haunted Antiques Research Centre, Mr. Neil Packer's going to be there, and also investigator Tony Ferguson, I want to say, is going to be there, but don't quote me on that one. But yes, so it's going to be a good night. And well, you get a nice 3-course meal as well, and you'll probably be able to sit down and chat with us, those of us who are there around the tables, and an investigation of Bodmin Jail. Pretty good evening, if you ask me. I'm going to be hanging by 3 o'clock in the morning because I'll be driving down the day on the Friday, and then I'll be driving back here the next day. But it's for the cause, isn't it? It's for the cause. Who's got their copy of Haunted Magazine? If you've got your copy, let us know what you think of the new articles that are in there. You should recognise quite a few of the names, including my own, who have written articles, and all the new blogs we've been putting up for you. We're working really hard for you here at Parasearch. One other thing before I get the ladies on is I'm going to be doing another show on Sunday evening. It's a Parasearch special interview, and that's actually a lot harder to say than you'd think. It's a Parasearch special interview with the amazing Hazel Ford of Haunted Happenings to find out about a new project that she's got going on that you'll be able to link into. Quite excited about that because it's a bit of an exclusive. I don't think she's interviewed by anyone else about it, so there you go. Anyway, hi Richard, how are you? Is my book still on the bedside table like you pretended it was? Haha. But I'm going to introduce my guests. They're from Lancashire. They're a bit bonkers. They're mad about dogs, and we've already been having a long conversation about the band Steel Panther before we came on air. It's Pamela and Jeanette.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You alright, girls?
We
Yeah,
are.
fine, thanks. Yeah, all good.
And we were having a conversation about Steel Panther, weren't we, before?
We were.
Absolutely
It was
were,
quite-
all
yeah.
sorts.
Mm.
Behind the
Yeah.
But
scenes.
we go into that.
No, we're not gonna say any of the lyrics right now, because even though this has got an adult content warning, I think that would actually, I don't think Kerry could cope.
It does say explicit. Kerry would love them. She started
would.
to listen to things a bit more. You need to listen to them.
Kerry, I can't. Do you know the reason why Kerry, my good friend and our evil queen, won't come in on a road trip with me? Do you know the
No.
reason why she's scared of the music I'll make her listen to?
You've already made her listen to some. I thought you were educating her.
Trying. I mean, she remembers who the guitarist in Led Zeppelin was now, but you know, and the fact she posted a Pat Benatar song because Richard gave her a challenge of finding a decent 80s music song, I think it was, and she posted Pat Benatar, which I did have to point out she was a rock singer, but yeah, Kerry's all about the dancey, drummy, bassy.
Yeah, but she
Stuff.
needs to learn. If she goes on a road trip with you, by the end of it, she'll love it. She'll be totally. And especially if you take her to see Steel Panther as well.
Yeah, I think hell is likely to freeze over before she'll agree to that one. But
what she's missing.
yeah, well, you girls have promised me you'll take me next time they're over.
Yeah, we're on it. It won't be long. They've got a new album out, so I dare say it won't be too long.
I could do a whole weekend up north, couldn't I? We could do
Yeah.
Lancaster Castle,
Castle.
Lancaster Castle, and
I
I kind of look. I do 50-50. I say Lancaster rather than Lancaster.
do.
Yeah, you
Castle.
do. That's
You know,
true.
I've got northern and southern roots. It's kind of the 50-50. Yeah, we could do that, and we could do. Hopefully, if they're at Manchester Arena, we could go do a bit of Manchester as well.
Do Manchester, yeah, but I hate Manchester Arena.
Oh, do you? Where else do they play up in your neck of the woods then?
Oh, usually Glasgow and Birmingham and where else? Nottingham sometimes. Nottingham Rock City, that'd be a good one.
Ooh, do you know what? We are going to talk about spooky shit in a minute.
Yes, we really
Yes,
are.
we
I promise.
I have been into like 80s hair metal since I was 12. I have. That's quite a long time. I have always wanted to go to Rock City. Never got to go there when I was younger and sort of party mode. So that would actually be ticking off.
It's on our list as well. We've never been, so yeah.
Ah, maybe we can all burst each other's Rock City cherry.
Yes. Yes, good idea. That's
And
the
now
way-
who's going to turn round to them and say afterwards, by the way, you've just popped our cherries?
Yeah. Absolutely. They'll love that.
I guess they would. Anyway, we're not talking about music tonight, even though we have.
We've promoted Steel Panther a little bit.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, maybe we should send them the link to this, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Who knows? Who knows what I'll decide to do when I'm in one of those moods. Anyway, I've been wanting to talk to you girls about your Irish road trip for quite a while. And I did a show on the Hellfire Caves down in West Wickham a couple of months ago with Barry Guy. It was a really interesting show, and I got to investigate there as well
Oh, fab.
a few weeks ago.
I love Barry Guy.
We
He's
do.
great.
I will say this hand on heart. What you sometimes see on telly is he's a lot better. Oh, my friend Wes from Canada's listening. Hi, Wes.
Coleman.
It's Mr. Coleman. Yes.
Oh, hello, Web.
Hey, Wes. You got all the blondes. 3 blondes. Hey. Barry's abilities are not shown enough on TV. How good he is. I was incredibly impressed. So anyone who's not had a chance to investigate with him, go and investigate with him, because what you see on TV is a tiny amount of what he's capable of.
Yeah,
Wes is excited. He's got 3 blondes on the air.
Oh, he should be. It should be. You should be, Wes.
And don't worry, Wes, I'm still saving hard to come out to Canada next year. I'm working my backside off, so I've got the money to do it. So, I want that red carpet.
As well. You can take Wes.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so I got to do the Hellfire Caves with Barry and his crew, and it was a really good evening. Blimey, even Andy's in tonight. He normally listens on replay.
Hi, Andy.
Hello, Andy.
Wow. I'm shocked. Hi, Andy. It's the spooky sisters that have got you on board, isn't it? Because normally you listen to this on replay. I never normally see you in the chat room.
You see. Oh wow. Well, be honoured.
I am. I'm very chuffed, actually. I've got some cracking people in the guest room tonight. Ian Twining has said that Rock City takes him back to being a misspent youth as a student at Sheffield and heading to Nottingham for a night out. Yeah, I never got to do that when I was younger,
Ian,
it was
can show us the ropes.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Anyway, what was I saying? So, Hellfire Cave. Now, a lot of people associate the Hellfire, there's actually quite a lot of Hellfire clubs around Ireland and the UK. And I actually have been reading a book by Evelyn Lord that talks about all of them and what they were all about and everything else. And there was even one in Norwich. Sleepy old Norwich had one, which I find hilarious. And I'm actually going to try and find where it was next time I go up there. But the Irish one was one of the earlier. The original Irish one was one of the earlier ones. And the land it was built on... oh, my friend Gayna's in as well. Oh, my God. Hi, Gayna. Oh, this is so...
Gayna.
Oh. So when we do get to... Melton is 20 minutes from Rock City. Does that mean we've got somewhere to stay then, Gayna?
Oh.
Is that what you're offering, or do you want to come with us and see this debauched band? They're very pretty, but the lyrics will
get to the Hellfire Club with the debauchery that goes on, you see.
Yeah, I know, it's all linked. You know, I'm not just a pretty face, you know, girls.
The picture that comes up in the chat room is me with two of them.
Say that again.
The picture that comes up of me in the chat room,
the
profile picture thing, is me with two of Steel Panther there.
Well, I can't. I've got the studio system up, so I can't see the chat room the same way that you guys can. She said she has a tent. You cheeky mare. She said you can sleep in it. I don't do tents, Gaynor. I'm a Leo. I have to have a roof. Anyway, right, I'm going to ignore you all in the chat room for a minute and get out what I'm trying to say. So, now, when we look at the whole sort of Hellfire Devil thing in Ireland, it does seem to be quite a... there seems to be a lot of crossover in the stories that get told. And, I mean, did you guys get to go to Loftus Hall?
We did, yes.
You did? Yeah. You actually went inside, or...?
I went inside an investigation, yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, what did you think of Loftus Hall? Because that's meant to be, you know, terrifying and all of that kind of thing.
Didn't find it terrifying. I did have a weird experience in there, but it's a fabulous place.
It's amazing place.
Amazing place to be in. I would love to be in there, or we would love to be in there with just 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And really small investigation. The staircase, as you'd imagine, is a fantastic place. There's quite a lot of... You do get noise pollution because there's quite a lot of cracked ceilings and drips coming through and things like that, so you've got to be aware of that.
Windows boarded up.
Yeah. You'll hear noises like dripping water and things like that, and creaks and cracks. You've got to be aware of that. But it's an amazing house to be inside. There is a feeling in there.
Definitely a feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be even more atmospheric with just a handful of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did have a strange experience in there, and I'm so glad we got to go because it was a massive bucket list thing. It really was. So, we went in all the rooms that we've seen on the TV on certain programmes. And it was great to actually be in there and see it for yourself and know what was supposed to have gone on there allegedly and things like that. Yeah, and to be in there at night with the wind blowing was...
Oh, it was a howling night as well, wasn't it? Wind.
Well, the interesting thing is that when I was starting to do all this research, one of the stories that came up about the Hellfire Club, and I'm going to get into where it is and how it was built and everything, was that the devil had appeared there and shot through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say which sister said to me, you might want to double check that, because I'm sure that was actually Loftus Hall. And that is also a case that is meant to have happened at Loftus Hall, isn't it? The situation there was that there was a storm. It's meant to have been the mid 1600s, and a stranger on horseback appeared at the hall. I'm paraphrasing this a little bit. He appeared at the hall because he'd got his ship had got stranded, and he needed sort of shelter. And the young lady Anne Tottenham, who was the young lady of the house, fell for him. And they were playing cards one night, and he dropped a card, or she dropped a card, she bent down to pick it up and realised he didn't have feet, he had cloven hooves. When he realised that she'd seen his hooves, he is meant to have shot through the roof in a ball of flame, and is meant to have gone mad, and that her parents locked her up in the tapestry room, I think it was called, wasn't it? And she died shortly after. Now, so that's an instance of the devil meant to have appeared and shot through the roof. Well, what I noticed when I was looking into all of this was the parallels in a lot of the stories that are told. A lot of them, I think it's become such folklore that they've kind of become interwoven with each other. Because
the Lawrence family, they did own a hunting lodge on Montpelier, where the Hellfire Club is. Dolly Lodge. So whether the parallels have got mixed up over the years, or
who knows? Who knows? Because there definitely are parallels. Because, but the thing is about Anne is it's nobody really knows what happened to it. Maybe she had gone mad, and the family were embarrassed, so they locked her up in her room, so nobody would know. Because obviously, back then, having a mad relative was not considered a good thing. It was to be hidden. The person was to be hidden away. One of the other theories is she was actually pregnant by this tall, dark, handsome stranger, and she actually died in childbirth, and that's why she died. I can't find any actual confirmation on it. The only thing I found was that she's buried in a small church in Wexford. I think I was telling you guys this before we came on air, and that her grave is very nondescript and is covered over with concrete, so that nobody can get in it. That's quite unusual.
I don't see why they would feel they'd have to do that. Why anyone would want to get in it.
Exactly. So it's either got to be that they were, I suppose, scared that Satan was going to come back and steal her, or is it that she died with a baby and they didn't want it to get out that she'd had an illegitimate child?
That's a big part of it.
Who knows? But her grave is meant to be covered over with concrete.
Gosh, the baby was supposed to have found the skeleton of her baby in the walls at Loftus Hall. I don't know how true that is, but that's how the story goes as well, isn't it? In the tapestry room when she had the baby fixed up in the wall, so nobody would know about it. Sad
story. From what I could find out, there was a lady Anne Tottenham who died very young, so she did exist. I don't think. I think personally, I don't think she did. The devil didn't come to visit. I think because my other thing is, why would the devil go up if it was going to disappear? Surely he'd go down.
Yeah, through the floor, back to hell.
Yeah. I don't. Anyway,
went to the Hellfire Club instead. Yeah.
Well, that which links us into the Hellfire Club. Now, interestingly enough, the ground that the Hellfire Club was built on, the hunting lodge that was built on Montpelier Hill, was originally owned by, I believe his name was the Duke of Wharton. Now, he was one of the original founders of the Hellfire Club in London. He didn't found this one. He actually sold the land off, and it was actually built by someone called Richard Parsons, who was the Earl of Ross, who was himself a bit of a character. It's said that apparently he had an obscene wit. So in other words, he was probably quite funny.
I think we've got on with him very well.
We would have probably gotten very well with him, yeah. And he also apparently liked to wind people up by opening his front door completely stark bollock naked to see what kind of reaction he got.
Yeah, again, it's like Steel Panther gig, but there you go.
Yeah, not that I've ever deliberately opened. I remember once I did open the door to the postman, not realising I'd just been breastfeeding my son, and my boob was still hanging out. And the poor postman looked rather embarrassed and just pointed down and averted his eyes. Yeah, I didn't do it for. I genuinely did. I was so sleep deprived, and I'd completely forgotten. But yes, you do. I know I'm not the only person to have done that, because my friend, who had twins, did exactly the same thing. But only it was to me that she did it to, so it wasn't so bad. But yeah. So my poor postman, he never looked at me the same way again. But yeah, so he was meant to be a bit of a cad, a bit of a rake, a bit of a naughty boy. But he's meant to be the one that was one of the initial founders of the Hellfire Club in Ireland.
Yeah. Now,
there's not much documentation about it at all. Same as the Hellfire Club in the UK. The one in West Wickham. There's not a lot about it, and a lot of the information they've got from it is actually from a painting that's in the Irish National Gallery that was painted by one James Worsdale, who was one of the original members, and it's meant to show, I think it's 5 of them sitting around a table surrounded by women and wine and all that kind of thing. Yeah, insinuated debauchery, yeah. And it shows the different characters who are meant to have been part of the Hellfire Club. What I found interesting, though, is what stone they used to build it.
Ah, yes.
And the fact they actually used stone from I think it's pronounced cairn, which would have been, it was basically an ancient burial site.
Yeah.
And they found this sort of big stash of stone and thought, well, why pay for it when it's already on the grounds? Let's use this to build this hunting lodge. Now, quite soon after it was built, the roof blew off, and apparently it was because the devil was annoyed that they'd disturbed this burial site.
Yeah.
Not quite sure why the devil would be annoyed about a pagan burial site, seeing as I was pretty sure pagans don't actually believe in that kind of thing. But, it's Ireland, they liked everything is the devil.
Yeah. Whether you believe in the devil or not.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got this building that's been built from, I suppose, almost like basically, I suppose you could say gravestones, pagan gravestones almost.
Yeah.
Has already got the devil links to it because of the fact that, the locals think that they pissed off the devil by building it with these stones. Although, like I say, I'd question why the devil would be annoyed about a pagan site being moved. What's it like as you walk up to it?
The disgruntled souls maybe from the...
As you walk up to it, she said, what was it like as you walk up to it? It's just, it's an amazing walk up that hill for a start. It's a long walk. It's a steep hill. The views from going up the hill are just incredible over Dublin. It's just amazing. We've got some photos from there. But as you walk up to the club itself, it's just a fact. It's like a TARDIS, that building. You walk up to it and it looks like it looks. It looks really creepy and really spooky because of the shape of it. But it was a hot, sunny day, middle of the day. It just felt good walking up to it. To actually see the flesh. Inside's a different story, even in the daytime.
Tell me more.
It's dark as you go in. It's obviously there's windows at the front, but there's none at the back, and it's quite dark. It's quite dank as you go in, and I don't know, the feeling of it kind of envelops you as you go in. We weren't investigating; we were just going in, just exploring to look round, and we had as we were walking round, there was 2 spots that we went into, and in those 2 spots, one of the girls' phones drained from 100% down to 30. The camera, all of a sudden, this spot, and the camera I was using, that it drained.
Right.
And the phone just drained. When you moved away from the spot, it got a bit more power, and as you went back to the spot, it drained again, which was it's quite interesting, really.
Yeah, especially if it was gaining power rather than just because I've had equipment drain and then be dead.
Yeah,
I've never had equipment vary. I've had stuff turn itself on and off in certain places and then be fine in others, but I've never had something drop its charge and then regain its charge.
This was on my video camera.
Right.
Regained. And your own your photo camera.
My photo camera. That regained. I don't think Gemma's phone did.
No, that didn't regain. That didn't regain until much later. She had to charge it.
And was your camera and your video, are they sort of USB chargers, or are they batteries?
Batteries.
Batteries.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting one. Do you know if that ever happened to anyone else?
No, never found out.
We don't know.
Spoken to anyone else that's been there yet. There was nobody else. There was people right up on the hill, as you know. There was people right at the bottom of the hill. The only people that were up on the hill at the time exploring the place were the five of us girls, and that was it. So it was great to have it to ourselves like that. When you are walking up to it, it does have, what's the word? It's a creepy building to walk up to in any conditions. Even in the hot blue sky, hot sun, it was a creepy place to look at, to walk up to. But it's like a TARDIS inside. It's bigger than you think inside.
Really? Yeah, because it looks tiny from the photos.
Yeah, you think you're going to be in and out. And then there's an upstairs bit as well. So, yeah, it's much bigger than you think when you go in. And it's like, some of it's like being in caves. It's just, wow. You're just walking around just thinking, I'm actually in here. Been wanting to come here for such a long time. And now I'm here. And it's better than you imagine, really.
It is.
I don't know about Pamela, but it's my standout moment of the trip, even more than Loftus Hall.
Definitely.
I never expected that.
No.
Because Loftus Hall was the main bucket list one.
Yeah.
But the Hellfire Club has just stayed with us, and we'd love to go back and investigate at night.
Oh, we will be going back, I think.
Yeah. But when we put...
Sorry, are investigations actually allowed then?
People do go up.
Right.
The car park's locked at night down at the bottom of the hill. You can't get in. And there's not many places to park down at the bottom, so I would imagine you'd have to hike in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think they make it easy, but they don't.
People have done it, so I don't know how difficult it is, or if you're meant to be.
We'd have to look into it.
There's so many walks around there. You can walk through the woods and things like that. So I don't know how they,
because it's public footpaths all up there. So
dog walks.
I suppose that they've got to be careful, haven't they? Because otherwise, you are going to have people who are going to go and do things in there that they possibly shouldn't be doing because of its reputation.
You don't want people graffiti, and the last thing you want is, some of these places people just go and graffiti all over them.
We didn't see any graffiti.
There was none there, no.
Really?
Yeah,
that surprised me.
No, it's amazing. Whether people, I don't know, but whether people that go up there, it's a long hike to get up there, so you've got to be serious about wanting to see it.
Yeah.
So if people aren't just going to come across it and, we'll go and graffiti up here, I think if you're going to go up there, you're serious about wanting to be there, so you respect it. That's all I can put it down to.
So did you do any sort of, did you set any recorders going or take anything in just to see if anything did happen?
No, we didn't. We didn't go up there prepared for an investigation, really. We went up there
because we'd always wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's that sort of place. When we were outside, we all went outside, all five of us, and there was no one else around. And Gemma wanted to she set a camera up to take a selfie of us all. And we were stood there waiting at the photo. Me and Pamela heard a stone being thrown, really clear, behind us in the club. And we looked back, and nobody else had heard it. And said, "Look at the camera, look at the camera." So we went to take another one, and it happened again, and everyone heard it that time. It was clear, like a stone being thrown. So I went running inside to have a quick look to make sure nobody was around. And you can't get out the back. There's only two little doors at the front where we were stood.
Yes.
There's nothing at the back. There's no way in or out the back. And there was nobody in the building, nobody on the hill or anything. So that was like, wow. It was just, I don't know how we could explain that, because it was clear and it was not like something falling. It was like being thrown. You know the difference, don't you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a historian, so I was looking into the history of the place, and I mean, one of the other things I learned from reading this book on the different Hellfire Clubs is a lot of these places weren't really about devil worship. they were more about just bucking the system, a very religious system. They were more about, putting two fingers up to religion and trying to do everything they could to wind the religious people up. It wasn't necessarily about contacting Satan and all that kind of thing. It was just more about doing the opposite of what they were supposed to do. A lot of these clubs were more about women, wine and gambling, to be quite honest, rather than satanic rituals. But I did read the story that I was going to relay, that I read, and I've read it in a couple of different sources. I don't know where it's come from. I think it was some kind of Irish journal around the time it's meant to have come from. But supposedly one of the local priests had got wind of this club. Now, the thing I want to mention is most of the members of this club were Protestant. And when you look back at Irish history from the early 1800s, even though most of Ireland was probably like 80% Catholic, there was a small minority who were Protestant, but the Protestants were the landowners, the upper middle classes. So, and the Catholic communities despised them, not just because they thought their religion was akin to Satanism. Also, they were the ones who were responsible for paying their wages and were never there anyway, because they were always back in their homes in England. So there's an awful lot of animosity, which I think is what sometimes has shall we say, elevated some of the stories. But one of the stories is supposed to be that this local clergyman had got wind of the Hellfire Club, and he had taken it upon himself to go up there and stop the blasphemous preachings of whatever they were doing. And he noticed a spare seat at their table, and he asked who the seat was for, and they said that's for the cat, the black cat, because the cat is the oldest person here. And apparently the priest turned around and said, that's not a cat, it's Satan, and started doing some kind of ritual like begone Satan and all that kind of thing. And this cat is meant to have turned into the devil and shot through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
so that again, we've got that parallel with Loftus. It's why I still don't get, why would Satan shoot through the ceiling? Why wouldn't it go down? But anyway,
Yeah.
but it's this whole shooting through the ceiling sort of imagery again.
Yeah, it's more dramatic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Folklore.
But then that leads us to another place near there that's connected.
Yeah.
Called Killikee Lodge.
Yes.
Or Killikee House. Now, Killikee House was actually owned by the family that owned the land that the Hellfire Club is on. I believe they built it. And that's actually got the Killikee cat. That anyone who saw, I think it was Ghost Adventures were there, wasn't it? And they were told not to touch the picture because if they move the picture, the cat doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And it comes back and it's basically a poltergeist. So that's a black cat that's meant to be satanic.
Yeah, the Killikee cat.
The Killikee cat.
Now, the picture's meant to turn upside down by itself, isn't it? Sometimes,
Yes.
So.
Yeah, or right itself. If you move it, it's meant to right itself as well, isn't it? Now, that all came about, and I haven't got the dates, but apparently someone had come back to the house, and the whole house had been trashed, and they didn't know why. And he opens the door, and there's this cat the size of a large dog prowling around outside, supposedly. But again, that links to the whole story from the Hellfire Club, that supposedly there was this cat that was Satan, and this priest expelled Satan.
And I heard that there was sacrifice of the cat as well. I heard that as well. How true that is, I don't know.
There's a lot of stories of sacrifice. I mean, supposedly. I find this one quite hard to believe. Supposedly, they sacrificed a dwarf.
A dwarf, yes. I've heard that one. And the skeleton.
Yeah, I mean, the only story of shall we say deaths that I can find, that I actually can find some corroboration that it really happened, was in I think it was 1740, when Richard Chappell I don't know if it's pronounced the same as you, Wally or Wally or Whaley. I don't know how his surname was pronounced, but his nickname was Burnchapel because he hated Catholics so much. He used to think it was funny to go around and set fire to thatched roofs that they had on their chapels to see how many he could kill. That's fact. That's in his memoirs and in his son's memoirs, because his son then took over the Hellfire Club. But he is meant to have been a bit of an arsehole, really, this Richard. Yeah. And I know that when he married, he was 59 when he got married, and he married someone of 19. Bit creepy. She had 2 kids, one of them being his son Thomas, I think his name, yes, Thomas Buck Whaley, Wally, however it's pronounced. Yeah. But he is meant to have had a bit of a temper on him, and apparently it was him that caused the original downfall of the original Hellfire Club when a servant accidentally spilt a drink on him, and he was so irate he proceeded to throw
fire to him. Brandy.
Threw flammable liquid on this servant, set fire to him, but triggered a fire in the whole property.
Yeah, that's been on fire, hasn't it?
Yeah. More than once apparently, but that was one of the. Now he was meant to have been the person who caused it to be destroyed because it got so badly damaged by fire. But apparently after that, they then used to start meeting at Killikey House.
Yeah. Yes.
So whether it was satanic rituals, whether it was literally just wine, women and song, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's something, because the feeling there and the things that happened, there's something, but I don't know why, if there was no satanic worship there or whatever, why something would be haunting it, or why there would be these feelings.
Maybe from the tombs that would disturb
from what it's built from more than anything.
That's my thinking. It is more my theory that it is more to do with the tombs that were disturbed. Yeah. But also, even if there wasn't, I mean, there are sort of comments that they were performing masses and everything, and that's, but they were doing it in a taking the mickey of Catholicism way, which would actually cause locals to become irate, because it's disrespecting their religion. So I can't find, there's no, in all the things I've read, there's nothing to say for definite they were doing satanic rituals there.
Yeah, I think stories build, don't they? They do, over the folklore stories do build. Hard to feel what's not,
but that's not to say, I mean, you take someone like this Burnchapel Wally, he wasn't a nice man. Yeah. Now, and also other deaths associated with it, because I think it was Lord Santry, he was one of the original members. He actually ended up being exiled. I think he died in Nottingham actually, for murder. Because he apparently was having a fight with someone who drew a sword on him. He was too drunk to draw his back quick enough, but when he finally did, the other guy had backed off, but he still ran him through. Yeah. And then decided because he had money, he got his physician to sew the guy up and say that he'd died from something completely innocent of the murder. Yeah. But he did end up getting tried for it, and they were sort of like, you can't hang him, he's a nobleman, don't be daft. So he got exiled to the UK instead. So there is still, someone who can do that isn't going to be a nice person. And I just wonder what things they might have brought in, what sort of negative energies they could have brought in with them.
This is it, you can get negative energies brought in. What actually happened there, or anyone being murdered there. It's such a minefield, isn't it, as we all know.
Because we haven't got the records to refer to, we haven't got decent writings on what they did there, and I do actually think a lot of these Hellfire clubs were just literally debauched gentlemen's clubs. I use gentlemen in the broadest sense of the word. It was a place where these men could go and behave badly. There was one club I was reading about, I think it was in Scotland, and they used to hire young women to strip completely naked so that they could study the female form. They weren't allowed to touch them, and in fact when one of them did touch one, he got thrown out of the club.
Right.
But it was to study the female form.
Oh, okay.
Personally, I think it was to masturbate, but in fact, that was one of the rituals, the initiation rituals in one of these clubs. It was a masturbation ritual. So these do sound to me like very debauched.
Don't cross the streams.
Sorry?
Don't cross the streams.
I'll tell you off air what one of the descriptions was of the initiation. I actually genuinely can't even say it on air. I think it's yeah. Andy has just put debauched dilettantes on opioids and booze. Yeah, pretty much, Andy. I'm pretty sure. Spooky Boo is in the chat room, and she said that I don't know if you're a he or a she, Spooky, I'm very sorry, said they lived in a haunted house where one of the brother's friends said he saw a giant yellow cat walking on two legs into the bedrooms. I have to ask, had they been smoking something when they saw that? Because that does sound a bit strange. I've never heard of a giant yellow cat being seen. But yeah, it was, don't cross the streams, But it was that kind of debauchery, yet I just wonder if the satanic element was brought in by the sort of the locals to try and sort of really make people hate these badly behaving, not all of them were young men either, middle-aged men. But I mean, they might have done satanic rituals, or they might have dabbled, like kids do with Ouija boards when they're 12 or 13. Yeah, they might have dabbled in something, but it would be interesting to know what. I
wouldn't be surprised if, since it's been empty, and that people have been up there anyway and done some sort of rituals and trying to bring something through.
Yeah. But that's a common thing. I mean, that's one of the same things they'll say about the West Wickham caves. It's I'm trying to think somewhere else I've been recently that they said exactly the same thing, because Drakelow tunnels. They say because people have gone in there and done those kind of rituals because the rumour was that that's where you could go. What have they brought in that wasn't there before?
Exactly, what they stirred up.
Yeah.
There before, and then left it there.
Yeah. I mean, there is about 30 years later, the club was restored. It was about 1771, and subsequently it was actually Burn Chapel's son, Buck, who ended up running it. Although I've looked in his timeline, and he was only 34 when he died. So looking at his timeline, I'm not quite sure when he's meant to have restored it, because he wouldn't have done it in 1771. He would have been 5, and that's quite young. But that's the one where they're supposed to have kidnapped, killed, and eaten the farmer's daughter.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's
again, no corroboration. I looked in newspaper articles from that time period. Nothing about a farmer's daughter having gone missing.
Right.
So I don't know again whether that was kind of, maybe that was, maybe they deflowered a farmer's daughter, and that's how it ended up being Chinese whispered.
Yeah.
Into.
It grows and grows.
It does. They say that there's surprisingly little stuff about it online, on newspapers and everything else. When you go up there, do you have a guide, or do you just go up there yourselves?
No, not during the day. You just go up there. No, there's no guide or anything.
There's no guide. There's no.
It's not touristy at all. They've got
Okay.
plans for it, and they want to turn it into a tourist destination. I think that's
2017. I think the Dublin City Council talked about putting a cafe up there and a visitor centre and a rope walkway and all.
You'd have a road up to it and everything.
No, car park.
It's just a fantastic monument.
Yeah,
I know it's been opposed. I hope it stays that way, because it is an amazing monument. It should be left alone as it is, just for people to go up there like we do and enjoy it as it is and see it like that. I think if you start doing all that to it, it will just ruin it. They'll ruin the atmosphere, they'll ruin the energies. I just think it's, no. Dublin Council, if you're listening, please don't.
I don't actually know anyone on Dublin Council, unfortunately, but I just say Gayna's having to duck out now because she's on the 999 system tomorrow morning early. But she said great discussion. So thanks, Gayna, and I'll speak to you soon. And I'm not going to use the Q word for you tomorrow, because I know you're not supposed to say that to people on the emergency services. So I hope it's a relatively easy day. I'll say that instead. Gaynor was one of the people who and actually Wes did as well, investigated Bob in jail with me earlier this year when Richard Estep was over. We had some very good laughs, and Wes managed to scare the bejesus out of me at one point.
Really?
Yes. Oh, have I not told you this? Oh, we're digressing slightly. Yes. We were walking about, and I think I was actually with Gaynor, and we were looking for Wes, and we heard his voice, but we couldn't see him. And it was so dark. He's going, I'm over here, and we genuinely couldn't see him. He ended up turning the torch on under, I'm here, but it was making us jump because we didn't know he was there, and we're nattering away as we're walking up, and all of a sudden we hear, hello, so we couldn't see him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
he managed to actually to make me jump. But the health do any of the locals ever talk about the Hellfire Club? Did you meet anyone local who mentioned it, or is it kind of just like, oh, it's that thing up on top of the hill?
Yeah, I think a lot of the locals just seem to be going up and down, walking the dogs, like not really, they'd stop and chat to us. They're really friendly, all really lovely people. But they didn't say anything about the Hellfire Club itself, or we didn't really meet anybody that had a tale to tell about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we're led to, you're led to believe when you read stuff is that locals won't even walk near it because, their dogs will growl at it, and
there's a lot of dogs there. A lot of people down at the bottom, and walking dogs.
And you didn't see any dogs growling at it?
No, but we didn't see any dogs at the top where the Hellfire
Club
was. So whether they just walk around the woods and the path and don't go up to maybe they don't go up to the top and don't go up to the actual building itself. I don't know. Because, like I say, there was nobody else up there when we went up, just us 5.
Oh, perfect.
It was. It couldn't have been any better. So it's hard to tell, isn't it? Maybe they stay away from the top and don't go near it. I don't know.
Maybe. So why? All right, I've said my theory on why I think all these things are connected and what I think it's more down to. What's your theories?
I think probably the stone it was built from, really. If there is to be an activity, that these spirits are probably disgruntled because they've disturbed their resting place.
I think there is a connection between obviously the Hellfire Club and then when it set on fire, they moved down to the Killikee estate to carry on the debauchery there. So the stories have crossed that way, and because of the links with the Loftus Hall, and they owned a place, the Dolly Club up there near the Hellfire Club. It's all interlinked, isn't it? The people that sort of own places nearby and had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And then the folklore has just gained and gained and gained. But they've crossed stories. I do think you're right about being down to the religious side of it.
Yes.
And they're very, very, I agree with that. Believe in the devil and everything like that. So I do think a lot of it's to do with that, yeah. And as for Anne, like, it was embarrassing. It was the 18th century after all.
Yeah, so, actually 17th. I think she was meant to be 17th century, yeah. Even worse, yeah.
Before the Hellfire Club was founded, wasn't it? Well before.
It's meant to be, yeah.
So it was a good time to be having a child out of wedlock, so that was covered up if they were deeply religious. Yeah. I think it's a lot to do with religion at the heart of it.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing is that's my sort of theory, because when you look at a lot of the stuff that's in the UK, you don't get many of these devil stories.
No,
you don't get the. I mean, all right, we have all the the Black Shook stories about the mysterious big black cats that I've seen and all that. And I mean, Norfolk's got a very famous one. The amount of people who say they've seen it, but you don't. And yes, you get the devil dogs. The people say they've seen dogs with glowing red eyes and all that kind of thing, but you don't seem to get as much
the actual devil visiting.
Yeah, and my sort of thing is, well, if he was after souls, why would he only go to Ireland when the UK's got more people?
Yeah,
I mean, just looking at it from a sort of flippant sort of point of view.
Yeah, and where Loftus Hall is, and it's very spread out, and there's not a vast amount of people in one place. It's very spread out. I mean, Loftus Hall is right in the peninsula there, so. It's not like there's loads of people around, loads of houses around for him to take their souls or whatever. So,
exactly. I mean, the Loftus Hall story makes me think of Wuthering Heights with Heathcliff. because he was I haven't actually reminded myself all the names in the story. It just makes me think of it. He was meant to be very sort of dark and swarthy and everything else, and was a foreigner that the master had found on his travels and quasi-adopted, and then he fell in love and all of that. And I'm pretty sure he was called the devil or something by some of the characters in the book. Yeah. So it makes me wonder if there was a traveller who ran aground, which is very plausible. Possibly would have been Spanish or North African, something like that. So would have looked the sort of dark,
swarthy, and a bit charming, and
and
I can believe that happened, and there was a relationship of sorts, and but as for him being the actual devil, I mean, no. I hate to say it personally, I don't believe in the devil. The devil. I believe in maybe
good and evil
things and entities and good and evil and things like that, but the devil itself, not big believers in that. So
no.
So you find it hard to believe a story that somebody was the devil, because I don't believe in the devil.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It
sort of came to lead you astray and steal your soul and all of that kind of thing. No, I find that. I think it's a parable. It's meant to teach you a lesson. That I think it was more of a case of, as a young woman, don't lay with a bloke that because he could be the devil, almost that kind of thing. I mean, let's face it, we've all called people of the opposite sex Satan at some point in time when they've done stuff to us, but I think it's more of it was a warning story as opposed to, well, the devil genuinely appeared here, because as you say, well, I don't personally believe in it, but I believe in negative entities. I don't know why would they, in a place that's as religious as Ireland, why would they be more common there than anywhere else where there isn't people there to fight them off, so to speak? That's another question that I would ask if I was talking to someone who was very sort of pro the story, shall we say. I did find one newspaper article that mentioned it, and this is quite an interesting one. It was on the 18th of January 1831, and it was talking about the death of a Squire Warnock, who apparently was a member of the latter Hellfire Club that finished in, I think it was 1800. And apparently, even though he'd had a Protestant funeral, other people who'd frequented the club with him said he kept appearing by them and sort of evil and wanted to take their souls. So they actually got some Catholic priests in to try and do, and I suppose, an exorcism. And the Catholic priests apparently said that the smell of sulphur was so strong they had to put holy water up their noses to protect themselves.
Wow, that's the stuff. That's it.
Yeah, I thought that was quite. It was linked to the reincarnated, if you like, Hellfire Club. And I thought that was quite an interesting one. I mean, it's quite a long article. I've only given you the sound bites of it. The article itself was like half a page, but they were talking about trying to get rid of him and his negative spirit and send it back to Satan, where he obviously wanted to be. And they even offered to do something specific with his coffin because it hadn't actually been interred at this point. So I thought, even sort of in the later 1800s, there was still a very strong element of fear and scaremongering around it.
Lots of scaremongering, I think. Yeah,
so, go on,
they're big on the folklore in Ireland, aren't they? It's a massive
country. Even now, sort of in the 21st century.
Honestly, I'd recommend anyone to visit, though. It's such a beautiful country.
It really is. Beautiful country, beautiful people. Yeah, very, very friendly.
Yeah, I love it over there. I haven't been for a while, but I used to go quite frequently when I was a bit younger, when it was where I had the boys. And
we didn't get to enough places. We did a road trip and visited places, but jails and we went to a couple of jails, and we did a bit of urbexing, found a big abandoned factory, which is amazing.
Oh, wow. Did you go to Kilmainham jail?
Pardon?
Kilmainham, the big jail in Dublin.
Oh, no, we didn't spend any time in Dublin. Apart from the Hellfire Club, we went to Dublin, landed there, went to the Hellfire Club, and then we were travelling through to Cork because our final destination was Loftus Hall. Right. So we didn't spend any time actually around Dublin. We had to go to the Hellfire Club. That was a given. And then we carried from there. We went to Wexford County Jail and Cork County Jail. Yeah, explored an old abandoned mansion. Then we found a big abandoned factory which we didn't know was there, so we went exploring that. We wanted to go to Lep Castle. That's the next to the list,
but it wasn't quite on the route. Yeah, in the scale that we had.
So the thing is with Ireland, because it's quite small, if you've got time, you can visit a lot. You know, it's not. You know, everything is actually a lot closer than you realise, and I mean, especially if you're looking at County Dublin, the public transport system around there, if you don't drive, it's pretty good, and you can get to pretty much everywhere you want to go. I've only been to Dublin and County Kildare, so I've never sort of travelled out of that. So when I go back, I need to travel further south as well and explore out of those areas a bit more. But it is a beautiful country, and like you say, beautiful people, very friendly and generous, and you know, if you're up for the crack, they're up for letting you join in, sort of thing. And anyone listening, no, I don't mean crack as in the drug. Crack as in CRAIC. It's all a good crack.
Don't need it, be.
And Guinness does taste different over there.
One did and one didn't. I think it's the way it's. My first Guinness, I was like, well, this doesn't taste a lot different. Then I went somewhere else and it was like, wow, this really does taste different.
I can drink it over there. I can't drink it here.
Oh, can you not?
No. I did wind a friend of mine up, though, that I took out there when she'd just broken up with her boyfriend, so I took her out there to have a good sort of a weekend away. I was staying with some relatives of mine, and she was drinking it, saying it tasted different. I said, oh, it's because they make it with the water from the Liffey. And she looked at me, she went, the Liffey's disgusting. And I was like, I'm joking. It's the same Guinness we get in the UK. But that's the standard joke. If you say to a lot of people in Dublin it tastes different here, they say it's because they make it with the water from the Liffey. And when you look at the state of the Liffey, you really wouldn't want to be drinking anything from the Liffey.
Well, the first pint was just like over here, but the second pint was just perfect. And I think it's all down to the way it's pulled. I really do.
Probably,
drinking like that. But I can only have a couple of Guinnesses. You go straight to my head and don't have the stories about that. So,
fair. We get the stories. So, what have you guys got coming up, spooky wise?
Well, a couple of possible things in the pipeline. We're doing possible Morecambe Winter Gardens with our friend Stephen at some point. We're not sure when. And then the Spooky Tram, hopefully. It does a tram ride. It's the old-fashioned trams all the way down Blackpool Prom to Blackpool to Fleetwood, and tells all the spooky stories all the way down. Help sometimes with that. And then, of course, we're so excited for Sage Paracon in November.
Turning ourselves inside out with excitement for that.
Did you read my blog on Coombe Abbey yet?
Not ready yet, no.
And of course we've got Halloween coming up, so
I've got plans for Halloween. Possibly, we're not sure yet, so we'll put it on our page when when details when we've got the details.
Further road trips for next year.
We're thinking. Thinking about the Isle of Man.
Nice.
Road trip in the Isle of Man, because there's a lot of places over there that need exploring. So we're thinking about.
Weren't you out there for the TT this year?
For the TT.
And she did a bit of
a recce to see where we could visit and go, and there's a lot of folklore over there as well, and tales and places to visit. So,
well, keep us posted. Keep us posted. I know we do talk quite regularly online, but keep us posted. And thank you ever so much for your time tonight. It's been an hour.
I know, as usual, it's gone quickly again, but you just want to talk about so much other stuff.
We could talk for longer about Ireland and what we did, and but alas, time runs out.
It does. It does. But you two were nervous about going live tonight.
Yeah,
you were fine, weren't you?
Absolutely fine. Absolutely. Once we're on, we're fine. I don't know what we sound like to everyone else, but we're quite.
We are what we are. We are who we are.
Well, that's been the Spooky Sisters. If you want to go and catch up with what they're doing, because I'm going to mute them now, so they'll start talking amongst themselves now. If you want to go and catch up with them, they've got a Facebook page, so go and have a look at that, and you can catch up with all the spookiness. The Spooky Sisters UK. Make sure you don't. There is another group out there now that's going with that handle. So make sure you get the right one. It's Jeanette and Pamela, or Pamela and Jeanette, whichever way you want us to put it. But it's go and check them out and see all the different things they're up to. They're a great crack. Those two. I enjoy chatting to them. But what have we got? What have we got next week? Next week, I'm actually going to be talking to Jane Harris, and we're going to be talking about a few places in Edinburgh that she has investigated and that she loves to talk about. So that should be interesting. I'm going to have my history tested, I would say, with Jane, because she's as much of a history lover as I am. So that's going to be an interesting show, that one. I'm looking forward to it a lot. So that's next week. Tomorrow you've got the Parasearch Radio show, as always, and on Friday you've got the Dark Mirror, and don't forget my special interview on Sunday with the lovely Hazel Ford. But on that note, thank you ever so much for listening, everyone, and if you're listening to this on the replay on the podcast, thank you for downloading it and having a listen. We do appreciate it. Please make sure if you like a show, you let your friends know and get them to have a listen as well. But on that note, it's been me. I'm signing off, but have a good evening, sleep tight, and don't worry too much about things that go bump in the night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.